location. If you saw the pre-show, you saw the truck pull in. We are running actually out of a, you're calling it a quick going, and this is John from QuickCast. John,
yes,
welcome to the Videoguys NewsDay Tuesday
program.
Glad
to be here. I'm a big fan.
Thank you. And a customer?
Yes, absolutely.
So today's show is being run on the TriCaster right now, and basically what we have is a situation where I want to explain a little bit about what QuickCast is and what it does. So what you guys are is a mobile production vehicle, but you're more than that. You're actually a studio on wheels.
Absolutely. Yep. We're on board Reliant, which is our largest and first truck. We have 2 green screen studios on board. So this is our sitting studio where we are. We have another one in the back where we do our standing shots. We do on and off truck productions of all kinds. Knock my mic off. Okay. So the idea is we go to the customer to produce all kinds of video instead of producing old text.
Cool. I like that. Leave that video coming in the back. That's cool because I don't know if people got the pre-show or not, Eddie, so I'm fine having that rolling in the background. Just make sure the sound is muted on it. Okay, can we come back to the shot with the 2 of us? All right, here we go.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
So this is from our pre-show, but this is actually the vehicle coming in. You'll see in the background the vehicle getting set up. There's no audio on that. It's for the folks to see what this show is coming out of, and we're here. So let's talk a little bit about some of the areas where you've seen success with this product, where you've gone and what kind of shows you did. You were telling me you did a dog show.
We do podcasts for a doggy daycare company. We did dog music videos. We have all kinds of customers, from political customers to small to medium-sized businesses, religious organizations. Really, almost any company on Long Island can use video in some capacity.
So we know the verticals that we see a lot being used is education, like high school sports and stuff like that, sporting events, and also worship is another vehicle that we see this. Have you had any experiences where you've brought your vehicle to a high school for a sporting event, or perhaps for graduation, or maybe for worship to do a ceremony, and how did that work out for you?
We generally do some of their events, like plays and theatrical events. Some of the sporting events are big venue events, like football. That's kind of like a whole different equipment set than what we're geared for. We have done live wrestling, because we do like small arena. We use both NDI, and we have a sling studio for some off-truck production that sends back to the truck.
Very cool. Now, one of the things that we like to talk about when we're doing something like this is we're going multi-camera. We're going through the TriCaster, and the TriCaster is right now running everything. But one of the things we often have problems with when we do a show is audio. So can you talk a little bit about audio and what audio you're using?
Okay.
To make this the audio mix. Where's the mix coming from? What kind of mics are you using? That kind of stuff.
Right now we're using some wireless lavs here inside. We have a Behringer X-Air mixer that's controlled with an iPad. So a user can sit anywhere inside or outside the truck to mix it and can control it through Ethernet. We actually have a smaller Behringer mixer that we use sometimes for live productions remotely. And they're tied together, and we can control the 2 of them in tandem, so to speak.
So here's the big question. What possessed you to do this? What made this, hey, did you wake up one morning and say, hey, I got to become a mobile studio?
Well, I have a marketing background, I have an IT background, and I have a love of vehicles and big toys, and it doesn't get much bigger than this. So about 7 to 10 years ago, I had this idea. Instead of doing video the old way, where we'd come in, tape up your windows, move furniture, blow fuses over and over again, I was trying to think, how can I streamline this process to make it efficient, affordable, and yet still look like the big guys? And at that time, it wasn't even possible until products like NewTek TriCaster came around and became affordable, that we could be competitive with it.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, we often would refer to the TriCaster as a production studio, a production truck that now sits on your desktop, which is all well and good, but you know, we built a studio where we normally do our Videoguys NewsDay Tuesday show from So the studio is where we normally do it, but not everyone wants to invest in the studio, but they know video is important. I can see how, you can see this used by a local, maybe a realtor or a real estate agency who wants to talk about some of their products, do a little show where they don't have the space, the commitment, or the engineering, the know-how, the technical know-how to make this happen, but they do understand that video is so important to promoting products. Audio and still images and print, that's the way we used to communicate with people. Now it's all about video, it's about moving images, it's about creating a compelling soundbite for people to use to sell stuff. So I certainly see how this could be used in so many different places. So this is a real crazy idea, and I think you really pulled it off. This is just amazing. I'm just blown away.
Thank you. Well, the TriCaster has replaced what would have been roomfuls of equipment and would have taken too much power, too many computers, too much heat. You name it.
I apologize for the blinking. We're running into some technical difficulties during the show, folks. The TriCaster, now it's settled down a little bit. Good. So let's also talk about now the cameras that you have in here. I see that you're using, basic off-the-shelf prosumer cameras. Have you ever thought about using maybe some PTZ cameras in the future?
Would love to. It's been a little bit pricey. It would certainly save more setup time to move to PTZ, and I think that's the goal in the future, is to use NDI PTZ cameras and replace our HDMI cameras as well.
Yeah, because absolutely, I could see how you could put a PTZ camera across that wall over there and have that mounted to be, a more stable shot.
Right.
And to be in there. So I don't know what's going on. My tech crew's buzzing everywhere, but we're gonna keep the show rolling anyway. But can we at least get back to the two-man shots? We have this both on while we converse. All right. Another thing that I wanted to ask you about was, how are you getting this signal up into the cloud? How's it getting to Facebook? How's it getting to your CDM? Because I know we're not hardwired into anything right now. This is all going up through Wi-Fi. So tell me what you've got here.
So we custom built a motorized 20-foot antenna that sits on top of the truck, and right now we're actually piggybacked right on your Wi-Fi here at Video Guys.
Oh, very cool. So looks like we didn't have my audio on, which could explain why that was a problem, folks. It's a remote and it's live, so we're running into a little bit of issues. But what I want to try to get on here now, if Eddie can find it, is we took a little video clip. You've got this monster antenna. Here it comes that you put on top of the truck, and that lets you get to see. You're basically sniffing Wi-Fi from all over the place. And since you have an Optimum user, you're just finding available Optimum hotspots. Correct?
Yes. Yep. Luckily on Long Island, anywhere where we usually need to be, we have very good coverage just from Optimum Wi-Fi, or whatever venue we're at, we'll hop on their Wi-Fi like we're here on your Video Guys Wi-Fi now.
Very cool. Now, if you were, in the countryside or in middle America, someplace that wasn't like the suburbs like we have here, or maybe in a city where Wi-Fi is bouncing off everything all the time, I think an approach you'd want to consider if you were going to do this yourself as a viewer of the Video Guys show, you'd want to think about getting a live view solo with the cellular bonded. Understand that'll add some cost to people and some cost that you pass on. I guess you would say, hey, if you want the cellular service, it's X amount of dollars more for the show.
Right.
But in some areas of the country, that's the only way you're going to get the remote going. So, we've got a live view solo here. I don't know that we're using it today, but
no, we're going
to cut to it just to show it. There you go. Eddie's got the live view solo. Eddie's got the truck going. One of the things we don't have going on our show is comms, folks. So if you see a little bit of chaos sometimes when things go wrong, I apologize for that. In fact, Christine, if you could just get on Eddie to show the TriCaster, because I think it's important to show that the TriCaster is being operated on a space that's basically, Eddie's sitting there on basically a 4x4 little square in the place. He's trying to run the whole show, and it's kind of crazy. It's not the one he's used to with the setups. We run our show on a TC1. He's running it on the TC Mini, but it still just goes to show you the power of what you get out of a device like this, because we've got the virtual set going, and guys, I swear to God, if you could actually get this camera on, the two of us, so you could see that we're literally in front of a green screen. This is good old-fashioned green screen. Ignore the man behind the curtain, folks. We're giving you a sneak peek of how this goes. But let's just cut right back to the green screen. You can see, here we are in virtual set land. So it's just incredible what you can do with today's technology. And I don't think something like this would be possible without a TriCaster at its heart and soul.
Absolutely not. People laughed at us and told us that this wasn't going to be possible, especially doing green screen in such a small space. But the key built into the TriCaster is so forgiving that a little bit of trickery, and we worked out some issues with lighting and such,
Yep.
but really the forgiveness in the TriCaster allows us to do this key very well.
Yeah, the TriCaster's keying is superior to a lot of other products out there, and we sat down and worked on the key a little bit in advance, but one of the things that you can get away with the TriCaster is you can get to like a 95% perfect key with little or no effort and lighting that is good but not great lighting. When you want to take it that extra distance like we do in our studio, you know, we amp it up a little bit with a little more lights, but the truth of the matter is with basically what I'm going to call 90% ambient lighting that's in here already and a couple of spotlights, we're able to do a very clean key in a virtual set area where I could see if you were doing this show for anyone, you know, they would have no idea that this was inside a mobile home.
Exactly.
You would think this is inside a production studio.
Well, you know, we try and take maybe that 5 or 10% quality off the top in exchange for not having blinding lights in the face of our talent.
Right.
We have a lot of corporate people that are not used to being on camera sometimes, or
Gotcha.
don't feel comfortable. So not having that glaring light is just one advantage to them being comfortable and doing good recording.
Now I'm going to ask that Christine follow me on the camera now, and I apologize for doing this, folks, but I'm a firm believer that the Boy Scouts had it right, and you always have to be prepared. So I promised I wouldn't do this, but I'm sorry. I got to show you what these guys have in here. Come around. They've got, can you see what's in here? They've got everything you could possibly want as far as the stuff going and the things like that, you know, gear. Don't worry, I got it. I want to show inside this one. They've got the power cables and stuff like that. If you're going to do a mobile show and you're going to go on the road, the most important thing you've got to be is prepared. You've got to have redundancies, extras, extra batteries, extra everything, because stuff will go wrong. I promise that to you, folks. I promise you in live situations stuff goes wrong. So,
And you know, the show must go on, and don't forget we had to account for things like heat, cold, vibration, and just the general electricity. You know, we've got 2 generators in case one fails, the other goes, and in case that goes, we've got enough battery to do 2 or 3 hours worth of shows, and you wouldn't even know that anything happened.
you know, batteries, that's one of the things, you know, we don't talk about in our studio show, but since we're talking about mobile video production, I saw you guys basically, we're using wireless mics with mic packs. I'm picking this up because one of the interesting things that happened is when we had a mic pack that wasn't working and when we were doing the sound check, they opened it up and moved the batteries. So batteries don't sit in anything. You have stacks of batteries, they're fairly charged, and then you put the fresh batteries in whatever you're going to go with at the time. I think that's a phenomenal tech tip because you know your batteries always have full juice.
Absolutely. In the closet, we've got one of those, I think it charges like 36 batteries
Cool,
at
yep.
once. So when we're done here today, we'll go back to our secret truck lair, and everything gets emptied and gets put back in the charger. We spend half our life charging things, but you know, if it's dead, and you're dead. So we've got to make sure everything is charged.
Now, one of the areas I want to talk about is right now, for the most part, I'm looking at it, and you know, you can show the cables. I think we've shown this shot before, but pretty much most of the stuff here is wired in through what's traditional HDMI audio cable, stuff like that. And you can see it gets kind of messy, but I know we're also starting to help you transition a lot of this stuff to NDI, where you'll be able to add some NDI stuff in there. So I think you've got a bird dog that we can go mobile with, and you've got some other stuff. So talk to me about NDI and how I could see NDI reducing some of this clutter by a factor of about 50 to 75%.
Absolutely. Well, right now we use a lot of NDI when we're doing hybrid shots of on and off the truck. So we NDI the link back to the truck where we beam it out
Very cool.
through the antenna. A lot of people also forget NDI carries audio.
Yep.
So for a lot of the talk shows and such we do, we even have a mobile tablet connected through NDI, and they use it as a soundboard to do sound effects.
Very cool.
So everything on here is almost wireless using NDI.
So that you're going Wi-Fi with the Connect Sparks is what you're
Yep.
using for that. What kind of range have you found you can get on a camera that's outside with your Wi-Fi with that super antenna and everything you have going on?
Line of sight, we could do 300 feet or more very well.
Now, we're not saying everyone can. Understand, folks, that you've kind of hacked Wi-Fi to a science here. This
Yes,
is your
yep.
off-the-shelf Wi-Fi. So it's not just a router. You've got the antenna, and you guys are really specifically using a directional
Yes.
to get longer distances.
Yep. There's actually different networks on the truck, so we isolate the NDI traffic because we also have VoIP calls and faxes going on. This is a true mobile office as well, so we keep all that traffic segmented.
And I can tell that you guys are doing a great job with this. What I hope you do is do well enough that you can go to the next level, which I think would be getting a TriCaster TC1 in here because that would give you talk show where you could bring 2 people in for talk shows. So now I'm thinking you could bring this on location to political rallies and actually
Yes.
have the candidates have other people call in and stuff like that. So I'm looking at, talk show lets you bring people in via Skype. We do it all the time on our show, and the video quality of talk show and Skype TX is just, if there's audio Skype and regular Skype with your laptop, Skype TX isn't even 11. It's more like 21. You really get that clarity, that audio sync. It's really an amazing technology that NewTek has gotten together with this talk show and Microsoft with the Skype TX.
We've been using kind of a Rube Goldberg thing of a bunch of mini PCs, and now that NDI is built into Skype, but it's still nowhere near as elegant as a talk show.
Well, I would have to bet that Rube Goldberg's got to be one of your heroes based on the way this whole thing's got set up. I mean, I'm going to guess that this whole system evolved. So when you first put it together, what did you start with? What was I know it's in the truck now, but what was that first show like? What were you running that first show on?
It was the TriCaster all the way. We knew right away it was the first thing we ordered from you guys.
Yep.
The first thing that made it on board. There were cables going everywhere and taped up. It took us about a year to build out this truck, and we would do podcasts and stuff for friends,
Yep.
just for the heck of it. Rip things out every week, rebuild it for the next week, and try again until we work the bugs out.
One of the things we've learned, and we've learned this the hard way, and if you watch our shows, you see that every couple of months it comes up again, is audio is probably one of the trickiest things that you can do with one of these systems in audio. And you guys are using a unique mixer that also has an iPad that lets you control the mixer. So Eddie, do we have a video clip of that we can roll in the background with that on the XR, or Christine's going to come on in and show it. So Christine, if you can come on in and get on this is the XR mixer they have. Up there she is. And that's the little, you actually mix the program using a iPad, which is pretty cool. Now, we got this whole thing set up in advance, and it worked pretty well, and we got it in there. And then can you pivot to the XR product that's over on the side also? Good. Yeah, right there, in there. Oh, there we go. We're live. She's got it. Okay, cool. That's just what I wanted to show people. We could come back to the 2 of us, but I like that audio approach so much. I'm thinking we may go with that audio approach in the future because I like having the iPad. One of the things that we found can be frustrating for the show is that we're on top of each other. The beauty is someone could be listening to the show in another room, listening to the actual Facebook or YouTube live feed and mixing from there. And that, to me, is pretty darn cool because we try to mix based on the levels with the headphones, but I really like the idea of mixing based on the true output, which is what it's going to sound like via Facebook.
Well, the other thing is we didn't have the option of having room to have a big mixing board with sliders everywhere.
Right.
We just didn't have the space.
Yep.
So it also, a lot of my operators and employees, we don't come from a sound background. What they do come from is an Xbox background and an iPad background, and it was more natural for them to come on board using that than a traditional mixing board.
Yeah, people want stuff that's easy to use, and what I'm going to say is in this space, the video mixing and production stuff like the TriCaster, it's getting easier. It's getting easier all the time, but still, it takes practice. It takes rehearsing. It takes getting in a rhythm for your show. And even you look at the show right now, it took us a while, but now we've gotten in a pretty good rhythm. Things are working a lot better. At first it was a little clunky, and that's because I think if I had done a show a month from this truck, we'd be doing it in our sleep after the 3rd or 4th show.
Well, also, poor video guys. We have video guys employees using equipment they've never used today. Normally, I'd be switching the show, so probably be a lot, more used to it.
You mean you're not used to being on camera, John?
No, oh God, no! I have a face for radio, definitely.
Well, we thank you for doing this, and I think this show was really fantastic. I think we did a lot on what the stuff's in there, but right now I just want to run down some of the gear we're using on the show. So, Eddie, if you could just have the truck rolling in the background, because that's the biggest piece of gear of all, and that is, an RV like this isn't just your basic RV. The sides come out, it expands, the whole deal happens. So, just in general ballpark figures, what does an RV like this cost in the open market?
They cost what a small house costs, pretty much.
Small house on wheels.
Empty. Of course, we lucked out by getting this one. Has a nice lift gate in the back, so we can move equipment on and off also, for productions and shows. Yeah, they're quite expensive, and the maintenance is brutal too.
And then we've got a TriCaster.
Yes.
And the TriCaster, you know, starts at about $6,000, but you got the whole kit from us. That's the kit with the TriCaster, with the control surface, and the travel case. Which
yes.
I guess in your case, that travel case is even more important because every now and then you got to pack this show up and take it even more on the road.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You've got 4 Canon cameras you're using. Are they Vixias? What Canon cameras are they?
They're the sweet spot, just like our Sony cameras. A lot of times, if you look carefully, you can buy prosumer cameras that have the same sensor as the high-end cameras because we didn't need features like SDI, and they're just basically stationary cameras. So
we went into the audio mixing that you've got in here. Now we talked about the antenna and the router a little bit. Now, do you have a router that you recommend that you're using to run this whole thing? Because that's one of the most often asked questions we get from folks is what router do you use when you're putting this whole thing together? And you guys have that Linksys up there, right?
Well, that Linksys is there for the internal Wi-Fi of the truck. We have a lot of ubiquity equipment that's backboning that antenna system.
Cool.
Our system really is many components because it needs to be flexible. So maybe when we arrive, maybe we're on the antenna. Maybe I'm running Ethernet into your building.
Right.
Maybe I'm on the antenna and taking from your Wi-Fi.
Yep.
So we needed the system to be extremely, extremely flexible. Or maybe we're bonding a connection from a live view.
Because you never know what you're going to get till you get there.
Right.
And that's, I guess, the greatest mystery with having a studio on wheels is no matter how well you know what's going on in here,
right,
the external world comes into play.
That's why every bin is full, like you said, of extra cables, extra adapters, batteries. 9 times out of 10, when we go to an event and there's a DJ or something, they're always borrowing stuff from us because we're the ones that are prepared.
Now, when you do your shows, what do you record your media to? I mean, are you just recording right into the TriCaster? Or are you using external drives? What do you use for that?
Well, we got the 4i TriCaster, which has the additional drive space, which I'm very grateful we did. Usually we go right into the TriCaster, and then when the productions are done, it goes into our central server on board.
Cool.
And then it replicates to other parts of our company.
Now, you were mentioning your central server also backs up through the cloud right to your house, correct? Or your office?
Yeah, we're very much a modern company. So when we're not working on board, we have editors that work from home or work from a remote office. So when we finish a production, once we hit stop, within a few seconds, that production actually starts trickling out to all those locations. So everyone has a local copy of that video on their system already, and editors can start moments later, not days or hours.
Very, very cool. And you guys actually have, back there in the truck, you actually have a little editing pod, and that's where you guys do your editing, right?
Yep.
Christine, I don't think you can get in it because it's kind of through the doors, but they actually have a full editing station. And what do you guys edit the shows on mainly?
We use Creative Suite on Windows.
Adobe, yeah.
We do carry a Mac on board still, but mostly Adobe product.
And you use Adobe Photoshop to create your lower thirds and your other content, I'm sure, also,
After Effects for motion titles and...
So your workflow is pretty much like the standard workflow that we have in our studio, in our environment, only you're doing it all in a truck, and I think that's just fantastic. So I want to wrap up the show a little bit by explaining to people that this was a little different show for us. We weren't directly pitching products like we normally do. We weren't giving a technology overview. This was a real work in progress, and what I mean by that is we actually use someone who's using our stuff, who's using it in an environment that's a mobile environment to create a show right from the parking lot of our offices, of our warehouse space. So I consider this to be a great success. I know we had some hiccups in the beginning, folks, but you know, when you're live, you're always going to run into some stuff like that. But this was really amazing. I wish you nothing but great luck with this. And if people have questions about how to do this, if you want to do it yourself, by all means, give us a call. And what I'm also hoping is we get some good questions from folks. We might bring you in to maybe give some guys some advice. Obviously not in the Long Island area, but if there's someone in Chicago or Wisconsin who wants to give us a shot, you know, I'm sure. So thank you so much. This was Gary from Video Guys. Thanks for coming to today's completely mobile show from the QuickCast mobile studio in our parking lot in Mineola, New York. We have some upcoming shows that I want to talk about. One of the shows that I know that I'm really excited about that we're going to be doing is I was just at the Photo Plus show, and I spent some time in the LaCie booth and at the Western Digital booth and at the Glyph booth. And one of the things I found is people ask a lot of questions about storage, but they don't ask what's the right storage. They ask, you know, how do I make sure my storage is working right? How do I get the most out of my storage? How do I get the longest life out of my storage? How do I make sure my hard drives are running in optimal condition? So we're going to do a show. I'm not sure if it's going to be this week or the next week, where all I'm going to talk about is my top tech tips going back to my NLE days. You know, what's the best way to produce to maintain and optimize your hard drives so that they always give you optimal performance. You know, we've got people who have hard drives in a closet and they leave them there for 2 years, and then when they go to power them up, they're like, oh my God, my hard drive didn't work. You know, I've got some great tech tips we're going to give you on that show that I think will be very helpful. And I think, what's another show we have coming up, guys? Do you guys remember the schedule? I don't know if we have the graphic with us here, but we've got some really good shows. We were just at the NAB New York show. That was really cool. We did a cool show on that. I know we're going to be talking about storage, and we're also going to do some shows on some other specials that are coming up. And of course, you know what's coming up in November, Black Friday, and you know we'll have some great Black Friday deals for all our customers too. So this is Gary from Video Guys. This was Video Guys Newsday, Tuesday at 2 p.m. You give us about 20, 30 minutes. We're going to teach you about the technology we use. And today, we're using the technology we sell to tell you about something that was really cool, and that was the Quick Cast. So guys, thank you very much, John. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And this is Gary for Video Guys Newsday Tuesday. You going to join me in it?
Absolutely.
Peace.
Watch it for Tuesday.
Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos.